Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Rhonda Ducote, zooming in from Irvine. Rhonda is the CEO and president of Apriem Advisors, where they manage over $1.2 billion in client assets. As the president and CEO of Apriem Advisors, she leads dedicated teams focused on providing comprehensive financial solutions. Their services encompass financial planning, retirement strategies, estate planning, investment management, generational wealth preservation, and charitable giving. They are committed to helping their clients achieve their financial goals and secure their legacy. Welcome, Rhonda.
Pleasure to be here, Danny. Thank you.
That's so interesting in what you do, and it's such an important part in many families' success. How did you start, and how did you end up in this business?
Well, thank you for asking. I love my story because I started it back in the early 90s at a large brokerage firm. I was there for about 7.5 years, where I met my mentor and now partner at Apriem Advisors. And he branched off back in 1998 and left the big firm primarily because he wanted a better relationship with his clients. And so after about a year, he convinced me to come aboard and that I could have the same experience with my clients as he was having success with his. And it's here we are, 26 years later.
Wow, not looking back at all. Like great move, huh?
Yeah.
That is awesome. So maybe you can enlighten us a little bit on how important all these things that I mentioned that you do, how important it is to have these strategies and these financial plans in place moving forward as you have successful families that have estates that have to pass on to the children, and how you maybe teach the children, because it's hard to, you can't just get somebody and say, here's $100 million and don't spend it all in one place.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It's interesting because over the years, the financial industry's, services has changed quite a bit. Early on, it was commission-based. Now it's more fee-based advisors. And that's another reason why we went into private practice. It was, typically with a big corporation, you have their agendas. You have, move on to the next client and then move on to the next client and then start all over. Being in private practice, we have this landscape of being able to deal with several different types of investors, which is why we offer the services that we do. You're going to be quite different from as an investor than I am and my family is. So we spend a lot of time on the front end understanding what our clients' desires, needs, goals are, knowing that every client has a different trajectory. Right. So some clients may want to pass on their assets, as a legacy to their children and grandchildren. Others may have different philanthropic, goals and challenges that they want to accomplish in their lifetime. So we take a lot of time and pride in really listening to our clients, understanding what their goals are, and then helping them achieve it. And it's not just a one and done financial plan. It's really a financial plan throughout their life and really educating them on financial literacy. There's so many things that you uncover by just having a conversation like we're having today. And no two clients are the same. So we start with a comprehensive financial plan that comes with our services. But then it's not just investment management. That's kind of the easy part of it, is managing the assets. It's really walking our clients through their transitions in life, from wealth accumulation to providing for their family, and then a legacy, as I mentioned before, to their children and grandchildren. And that's where we get involved. We are a multi-generational investment management firm. We're also a fiduciary. So we teach our clients' children and then inevitably their grandchildren free of charge in financial literacy, how you have to be a steward of your own money. And when you pass it on to the next generation, there's lots
Mhm.
of statistics out there, right, that says that probably by the third generation, wealth will be gone. And
Yeah,
it's quite scary
yeah.
when you think about how much wealth is out there. And so we know that in the next generation, $30 trillion is going to pass to the next generation by the year 2030. So we
Mhm.
really have to be a steward to our clients' beneficiaries to make sure that they understand how important that is and that they can build another legacy for their children and their grandchildren and in perpetuity. So,
Right.
we just take it very seriously, and our clients really appreciate how much time and how much patience and how we help them through every transition, whether it's marriage, birth, death, and so on and so forth.
Mhm. Going back to that statistic that you said, third generation, um, all the inheritance is gone. I hear like it's like 2.3 years. Within 2.3 years, like money's gone. And it took so much trouble, right? Saving and just growing the family's wealth. What would you say would be a good step for a family to do if they're in that position where they have a little bit of inheritance to pass to the children? And how what can they do at home to teach the children and say, hey, listen, what we've made is going to be for you guys, but you guys have to learn how to be good and handle that money, be
Mhm.
responsible with that so that you don't run out.
That's right. And that's a great question. We talk about it with every client. I think the very first thing that we encourage our clients to do is have family meetings and have family meetings early and often. And, I look back to my own family, my mother and father. I lost my father when I was 10. My mother, I'm the youngest of seven, so she had a lot of kids to care for. There wasn't a lot
Right.
of insurance or anything like that. She had to go back to work. But she never sat us down and she never like had these meetings that we now focus on with our own clients because we didn't understand what financial turmoil she was in and how hard it was for her to make it in life,
Right.
raising kids on her own. So now with our financial planning right out of the gate, we want to make sure what each client, what their values are, what their goals are, and so we want to make sure that they have family meetings, and we will even help facilitate those family meetings. So we can invite them into our office. We've gone to our clients' homes in the past to say,
Mhm.
okay, this is what your mom and dad, or maybe your mom or your dad, if one is
Mhm.
is passed on, and this is how you have to understand money. And it's not just the valuables, right? It's not just what we
Right.
have and we have a lot of money. It's what you want to instill in those kids to teach to their next generation of what money is for. And like I said, you might have different goals and objectives than
Mhm.
the next. You might have some
Right.
charitable inclination, philanthropic, inclinations with what you want to do with your assets after you go. But it's
Mhm.
important that your children or whoever you're leaving the funds to, whether it be extended family or not, what you have, what you did to earn it, so they understand the
Mhm.
value of that, and then
Right.
they teach it to the next, and how important it is. I remember one story when I worked at the big brokerage house, and I had this young man at 18 years old inherit an IRA from his uncle. It was about $500,000 at the time. Back in the 90s, that was
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was in an IRA. So back then we didn't have inherited IRAs, or, you had to take it out over a period of time.
Mhm.
He was out of that money within 18 months. And
Wow.
I'll never forget it. It stuck with me because he didn't know. He didn't understand the value of money. He didn't understand how hard his uncle probably had to work to earn that money and grow that money over time. It's because they didn't have that meeting. They didn't have, a clear understanding of what the money was supposed to be used for and how it could last in perpetuity. I mean, that is what's so incredible about being a steward of your assets and teaching the next gen to understand that it could last forever and ever if you do it correctly.
Right. Right. And I think the education is super important, like you mentioned. You mentioned the family meetings. I've read about that before from different wealth managers that they do that.
Mhm.
Um, when you say often, what does that mean? How often do you think a family meeting should be held
Mhm.
to talk about these things?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think it just depends on the family per se and
Mhm.
how much needs to be taught. But I would say in the first year or two, more frequently than not. So maybe once a quarter, maybe twice a year. And then maybe
Mhm.
you just have an annual meeting as long, because you start with like the big stuff, like what is part of your estate plan? Does your parents have a living trust and a will and a healthcare
Mhm.
directive and powers of attorneys? And you teach
Mhm.
them about your estate and your estate plan. And then you move on to the investments. And it's important that your beneficiaries know where everything is. My mom's generation didn't like to talk about where their money went.
No,
They kept
I
it very
agree.
close to their vest. And so then when they passed away, nobody knew where anything was. And that's part of the problem. We're hoping to change that narrative across the board for a lot of our clients. But I think the
Yeah.
family meetings are important. I think you need to have them multiple times in the beginning, and then it can be like an annual thing. That's what I do with my own family, is once a year now.
Yeah, I know it's funny how you say that our parents' generation, there was a secret.
It was a
Um, I,
secret.
I remember my mom and dad had a really bad accident in 2017, and my parents were exactly the same way. I remember my dad being in the hospital and said, "Hey, go to the house, underneath the bed, look for this box, and take it out and take it to your attorneys and have everybody review it and make sure everything's good to go."
Yeah.
And that was like a weird conversation because he was basically admitting he could have lost his life in that accident. He
Mhm.
recovered fine, but then that's when he started opening up. But he maybe could have not had that chance, and he would have
Right.
passed. Then we would have had to figure it out on our own. Like, what
It's
was
what
his
happened to
plan?
my mom. It's,
Yeah,
my dad passed away very suddenly and she did not know anything about the finances. She didn't know where the finances were. She didn't, back then, predominantly males took care of the household finances and paid the
right,
bills.
right.
Things have changed obviously over the last, couple of decades and
Mhm.
women are getting more and more involved in their finances.
Right.
Is another one of my initiatives is
Mhm.
educating women because that
Right.
statistic that I mentioned to you earlier, most of that wealth will pass to women. I'm not,
Well, women
unfortunately,
live longer,
yeah, women
right?
live longer. They typically, I mean, their life expectancy is probably 5 to 7 years longer than men.
Right.
And they will inherit whether it's from their parents and or a husband passing on.
Right. Right.
And they need to understand, and have the tools ready to, educate, empower, women, going into
Right.
the next generation.
Right. Imagine a husband that has businesses and everything in his mind, and if she doesn't know anything,
Hmm.
because he's going to pass. You can't say what if he passes. That's going to happen, and statistically, women will outlive the men. Um, yeah, it's better training, and then if you have children, they can be ready to act. Now, here's a question because you have entrepreneurs. I'm sure you see, and let's just say a family of four, hypothetically speaking, and you can have different situations such as none of the children want part of, let's say a family bought a bunch of apartment buildings or rental or industrial places, as simple as that, not even a business. And the children sometimes don't want any part of that because I've heard them talk about, you know what, the day my mom passes, say if she's the last one living, I want to sell everything. Like I want out. I don't want to be chasing. Or you can have some family that maybe half and half. Some of them want to be in the business and some of them don't. How do you kind of structure something like that? Do you guys provide a service where you guys are the ones kind of in control and the children's have to maybe vote on what's going to happen? Or how does it, I mean, it, how do you figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, that's all part of the plan. And, it's what I mentioned about women earlier. It's about obviously getting children excited about things too. And
Right?
you're always I have three children of my own, very different. One's an attorney, one's in finance, and one is still trying to find his way. And,
Yeah, yeah.
you have different personalities, that you're having to work with. So what I try to do is get people and clients, especially women, excited about things, excited about learning about it. And, how do we do that? We have lots of in-person seminars and webinars that are available that help people teach financial literacy and how important it is, but also making it fun. I remember I had a CPA come in and talk to a group of people, and I'm like, how can I make taxes fun? Right? Learning about taxes. Well, I brought a yoga instructor in, and after it's called Health and Taxes, so you take care of yourself and you'll get a yoga lesson, but you're going to learn a lot about taxes. So you have to be kind of creative and knowing that all these different personalities, some are going to be interested in it, some are not. Typically, people who are not interested in finances or not interested in financial literacy, it's because they're embarrassed to ask silly questions because they don't want to feel like inadequate, especially in front of their husband, per se, asking a question that is going to make them look kind of silly. So I take the silliness out of it, and I said, let's have a meeting about just all the financial terms out there that you may not understand, that we use acronyms for, that will help you understand what the markets are like, what the market means, like what the Dow Jones means. Nobody knows what that is really, or nobody knows what an estate plan is, right? No one knows. A lot of these, jargon terms that we use in this industry. So we try to make it fun. And that typically gets most kids especially involved, gets most women involved because it's not intimidating any longer. And so we just kind of have to, you kind of have to adjust to the people that are in front of you and adjust to the personality.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that numbers don't get everybody excited.
No.
and taxes, right? Like, who gets excited about paying taxes? That probably
That's right.
Everybody.
You need to relax. Take a yoga class. Stress-free.
Right. Exactly. So those are all really good things that seems like you can provide almost like a one-stop shop. Also, because let's just say you have a client that doesn't have any family. Like, what happens then, right? And let's just say they do real well, right? They've done really well. They don't have any children. They don't have any family left. And they want certain things done. Maybe they want some money donated here or some charitable donations on the other side, or whatever. You guys can plan that and do the distributions however they want them, and have that live, I guess, in perpetuity.
Yeah. So I like to think of us as a quarterback. So, what we do is we learn about what their goals are. And you're right, we work with many different types of clients, whether they're married, single, widow, widower, have no children, have lots of children. And so with that being said, I will say that we play as a quarterback. We work with our clients' estate attorneys, with our clients' CPAs, and we quarterback all of their wishes. And sometimes when they don't have family members that's involved and they don't have those family meetings, we become that piece for them to say, you know what, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, we're going to make sure that all your wishes as a fiduciary. Now, we don't take possession of the assets. We're not trustees or anything like that, but we make sure that the estate attorney and the administration of the trust is done properly from A to Z, while they're alive and once after they've passed, to make sure that it ends up where the client wanted it to end up. And so I like to think of us as that quarterback piece of we have this team and we're making sure that all the plays go with uninterrupted.
Right. Now, you said something important, because you can also have children that are not responsible, right? That could be another scenario. And you mentioned an administrator of the trust. So if that's the case, you can hire an administrator of the trust and say, okay, this is my trust. This is what I want you to do. My children are not capable, or maybe they just don't want to, right? They don't want, because that's a lot of responsibility depending on how much you have. And we want you to take care of that. So that would be part of it then, right?
Yes. So we wouldn't act as the administrator, but we work with companies who are administrators of trust for that particular reason. I mean, we've had lots of clients who have passed on and they don't name their children as successor trustees. They name a corporate trustee and or hire a service for that. I've usually seen it with there's lots of siblings, meaning there's maybe 3 or 4 kids. They don't want to name just one kid, and they don't want to name all of them as co-trustees. So they'll take an outside, removing the pressure from
Okay.
one of the
Yeah.
children to a successor trustee, a corporate successor trustee that
Right.
just follows the terms of the trust.
Right.
And there are specific, you made a really good point where, like, what if one of the 4 kids has a drug or alcohol problem, right? And
Yeah.
you don't want to give them and fuel them with, maybe in some cases, millions of dollars. So
Right. Right.
that's all part of your trust wishes, and it's part of my own trust. Where if my 3 boys, had any type of addiction or weren't,
Mhm.
contributing to society in a good way,
Right. Right. Yeah.
it's restricted, and they have to do certain things, like education or be financial, or have good employment or whatnot before they get some
Right.
of their inheritance. So you can be as restrictive in an estate plan or a trust document as you'd like, or you can be as
Mhm.
broad. It really depends on your own situation. But yes, corporate trustees are a big piece of this puzzle when you don't want, maybe certain relatives handling the finances after you're gone.
Right. And no, that's super important because I'm thinking kind of on the bad side, that, if your kids are not bad, but you mentioned also maybe all the kids are good, but you just don't want to make him jealous or put that
Burden,
responsibility on
yeah.
somebody, right? In a good way that, okay, hey, I'm going to make it easier for you guys. These are my wishes. This is what I want to do. And we'll have some on a third party do that for you guys. So you guys don't have to be burdened.
That's right. And it's been very successful, I think, when you take that pressure off of naming one of your children or a relative in that position. Because, a lot of people don't want the job as successor trustee. It's a lot of work, especially for complex, estates, and
Right. Right.
portfolios. Because like you mentioned, it could be multiple pieces of real estate, it could be business assets, it could be investment
Mhm.
accounts. And
Right.
when you name somebody in that role, you want to make sure that that person is up for the challenge, because it could take
Right.
sometimes years to settle estates, and
Right.
it's a full-time job.
Right, right. They have their own life, their children and their
Hmm.
careers, and then it's like, hey, you know
That's right.
what? Mom and dad dies, and now you have to get this job that you didn't bargain for. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I
That's
get
right.
it. So that's a good thing. That's a very positive thing to do. Now, also, if let's say one of your clients has money and needs help with investing that money, do you guys have that side of it too?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
be able to make that money grow?
Yes, we're a full wealth management firm, and I use the term multi-generational because, again, we work with multiple generations of the same family. But yes, that is most of our work, is that we handle the investment piece of it. We come up with a plan, an allocation, how it should be invested, what they need. Some people need income, some people want it to grow and compound over many, many years, and again, as they go through these transitions and or throughout their life, portfolios change. You sometimes get it more aggressive or more conservative based on where you're at. And that's where we shine, is on the investment side.
Right, because now you have something to put in the trust, right?
That's right.
That definitely, that's a good thing. Now, do you concentrate on those, maybe just on in the stock market or on treasury, bonds, alternative investments? How does that spread come around, or what do people have? What kind of
And
options?
so we first find out what their landscape looks like, right? Like what they have
Mhm.
throughout their financial plan. So we start with a plan. So they have maybe
Right.
real estate, business assets,
Mhm.
and then investment accounts. So we know where everything's at. We make sure it's titled all correctly in the name of the trust. If they have one, if they don't have one, we make sure that they get one through an estate
Mhm.
attorney. We look at their tax returns, and then once we know all of the aspects of their financial life, because we are a holistic money manager, then we take the investment accounts and we say, okay, this is how we would invest based on your goals. We do use the array of investment products, from stocks, bonds, money markets. We can do alternatives. We can basically ETFs, mutual funds. It just depends on that particular client. And then we
Right.
invest accordingly, and then change things as the market conditions change, or if their
Right. Right.
life experiences change.
Makes sense. No, makes sense, definitely. Yeah, because what if, I think there'd be, like, as an example, a situation where the husband passes away and maybe he was doing most of the business or the
Mhm.
investments, and the wife says, you know what? I just want to spend time visiting my children. I don't want to have to deal with this. Put it in with you guys, and you guys give me income, right? I need income so I
Right.
can travel and visit my children who are all over the country, or something like that, right? You
You're
want to.
you're you are talking about most of our clients right there. They do not want to do it. They either have no interest in managing their own assets, or they're just not inclined to be, they're too busy to do it, whether they're working or they're retired
Right.
or whatnot, and they don't have to worry about it. But what we do is we communicate with our clients and we make sure that maybe they're not doing the day-to-day investing. We are,
Okay.
but they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. We meet with
Right.
clients regularly. We say at least 4 times a year, quarterly. But sometimes clients, I had a standing monthly meeting with one of my clients who recently passed away because that was his preference. So
Right.
we are very, very in tune to the client relationship and how deep these relationships go. We've been asked to speak at give eulogies when they pass away. We've been invited to weddings. We've been invited to baby showers or bat mitzvahs or bar mitzvahs. So we are very, very in tune with our clients. They are like family, and we're very, very proud of that. And most of our clients would say that without any hesitation, that Apriem is like family.
And you know what? And that's what you don't get at these larger institutions. You're
That's
just more
right.
of a number,
That's
where what
correct.
you just mentioned right now, it's so personal, right? That's who you want to have, where you can just call somebody on your cell phone and say, hey, listen, Rhonda, I need to do this or I need to do that. Can you help me with that? And you're like, okay, yeah, we'll get it taken care of. Don't
That's
worry.
right.
Go on
That's
your
right.
vacation and enjoy yourself.
That's correct. I think one of, a quick story I'll tell you is I'm very proud of it. It just happened a few months back where a client, had congestive heart failure and he was passing. He called me up and he said, "Hey kiddo, I just want to let you know I don't have very much time left, but I just want to thank you. I want to thank you
Oh,
because I know that my wife is going to be okay." And they've been clients for over 20 years. I'm not worried about that at all, so I can leave this world in peace. And so it was very touching. I miss him dearly,
yeah,
but it struck me as that's how our clients feel about us.
right. And that's great to be able to have a client that you know that you've impacted his life in such a positive way. You're giving them the peace of mind, and you're giving his wife
Yeah.
the peace of mind as well, that they're well taken care of. That's like super important, and good people to have on your team are hard to find. So
I've
kudos
got
to
the
you,
best.
Rhonda.
I've
Right,
got the
right.
best team. I've got the best team. And yes, it's very rewarding. People always ask me, at the end of my career, what do I want to have happen? I want Apriem to continue on in perpetuity, and I want more conversations like that client calling me and
Mhm.
thanking me for making sure that, he's going to be fine, his wife's going to be fine. And it's just very, very rewarding.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You're doing amazing things, Rhonda. And as we wind up the show, what does your next 6 to 12 months look like? What do you have exciting in the horizon?
That's a great question. I have lots of plans. Again, a little bit of what I just mentioned is that I want to set us up. We're a growing firm. Like you said, we have about between 1.2 and 1.3 billion with assets under management right now. I have over the last few years, we've hired additional staff, a younger generation, to make sure that Apriem continues on long after I'm gone, and
Mhm.
that's something that I would hope that would continue on. So growing and making sure that our clients are happy, making sure our employees are happy, because we're like family. I have
Mhm.
17 souls that I am responsible for and their livelihoods. And
Mhm.
I want to make sure that you'd know that if you looked at the tenure of our employees, that, we have long tenures. People have been with us for 15, 20, 25 years because they
Wow.
make it here and they see what good work we do on a daily basis. So I would want that to continue. So I'm my main role, not just visiting with, relationships with clients, but it's also making sure that my employees have the resources that they need to give the service to our clients as we go
Right.
into a changing environment. There's so much
Right.
stuff with AI now. There's so much stuff with,
Yeah.
Zoom calls.
Yeah.
There's so much technology out there. Do we have the best technology? Do we have the best software for financial planning? So to make sure that we have enough, resources and the tools that we can make the client experience A plus 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 plus.
There you go. There you go. That sounds perfect, right? The one-stop shop, you get taken care of.
That's right.
From A to Z, right? And you get a great relationship with Rhonda. That's so
That's
awesome.
correct.
Well, Rhonda, you've shared so much with us. It's been so educational for us here, for the audience. If somebody who's listening and would want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I think LinkedIn would be the best place for that. It has all of our company information on LinkedIn. On my profile, we have Apriem Advisors profile out there as well. Has our 800 number, our location. So LinkedIn would be the best way, or go to our website.
Well, thanks so much for that, Rhonda. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And to our audience, go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.